Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. How is everybody tonight? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing all right too. But I tell you, time goes by so fast, and we got so much going on. Is there going to be something happening, or has something happened already while I was preparing for my live stream? Because the Biden administration said they were going to do a response within 24 hours. And by my calculations, that'd be about by 1:30, 2 o'clock this morning. There's going to be some kind of retaliation for what happened with the drone and our troops in Jordan. So I don't know. Keep your eyes on the alerts if you have a news alert on your phone, your device, your television, or whatever, because we are at a critical moment in time. We have been at a critical moment in time for the past 10 years at least, as we go through this process of restoring our Constitution. And that's what it boils down to, restoring the Republic. How you doing, Roberto, Susie, Sherry, Kim, Simpson, Marilyn, Jersey Joe, Quilt? Hi, William, Alicia. Everybody's rolling in. Angela, how you doing? So, anyway, boy, I tell you what, we had a good live stream the other night, and we're getting down to where we can see what the narrative they're trying to set. Several of them at the same time. It's funny how these things all come out, and all the media focus on the same thing. Jack Posobiec made an interesting statement. I'm paraphrasing something to the effect that the mainstream media celebrated E. Jean Carroll, focused on her 10 times more than they did than these soldiers that lost their lives in Iran. And that's repugnant, but that is how they play the game, right? Island Girl, how you doing? Yeah, that's it. Hit the like button. Lone Wolf, how you doing? Let's see. Nikki's here. Let me see where Nikki is. Did I miss Nikki? Camperman, how you doing? Gloria, there's Nikki. How you doing? Hit the thumbs up. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Just make sure I catch you early, folks. Right? So something can happen during this broadcast. I don't know. And we've had some communications going back and forth through Sweden. Was it Sweden or Switzerland? Anyway, that the story goes that Iran has told Washington any strikes on their territory, whether there's a loss of lives or not, there's going to be some manner of horrific response to that. So, keeping in mind that we probably have cells in this country. We probably had them here for a while. They've probably been fortified with all the lack of security at the borders, and I'm putting that in the plural, borders. Hi, Bill. How you doing? And with Mr. T saying it's 100% of an event on U.S. soil, 100% chance that's going to happen. So I said last night, those soldiers what happened with those soldiers would have never happened if Trump was still in office. And as far as I'm concerned, that's an inarguable point. But hi, MS Motorsports, if somebody comes in with a competing point of view or something they need to discuss with me, let them have at it, folks. Okay, we're going to engage people. I put in my title because I had to hurry up and get live, so I put a title up pretty quick. The People's Court starts now. Trump said in his last speech that we were going to try Biden at the ballot box, right? And now, don't despair. That doesn't mean everybody's just going to get off and get voted out. That is just a metaphor that he's using. It's a good metaphor, but that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to try Biden at the ballot box. So let me see. So we've got, this is as it being an information warfare, we have to entertain other points of views, and we have to discuss with people, not in a hostile or dismissive way. I mean, we are fellow Americans, and we want to keep it that way. And I want to remind everybody that these number 17 post said specifically in a post, NO, all right, no civil war, no civil war. There's not going to be a civil war, clean and swift. So we got to, as Lincoln said, bind the nation's wounds at some point. And that includes psychological wounds. Oh, thank you, Nikki, for putting that in there. I got Nikki put a link. I got to buy me a coffee. If anybody wants to help channel out, I appreciate it. So anyway, if something happens, I'm going to try to keep an eye on my notifications if anything does happen over there. But I can tell you, it's been said many times. Hi, Ken, that the signals that are being put out is that they want to retaliate, but they're also cognizant that they don't want. They're probably not going to do a big retaliation because they don't want a big response. That's basically what they're saying in a nutshell. But I tell you, I went ahead and put Iran in the 17 posts. Y'all know what I'm getting at, right? And it's 93 different posts concerning Iran, some of which I will read, and that were the most recent ones were in 2020, just before Mr. T left office, right? Yeah, ATF and the big scandal. They're all going to be in a big scandal. Hi, Christopher. How you doing? We've got that was something else I'm going to put in my thumbnail about the scandals that are popping up. Fannie Willis, she's a tip of the iceberg, but she's going to be a template. She's a typical example of the type of people they get to carry out their operations, to be their front people. E. Jean Carroll, she's another example. To look at her as a human being, I know that's hard to do, but she is not over bright, okay? And I think she herself has some cognitive limitations, okay? E. Jean Carroll. If you watch her recent interviews, she's not an overly bright person. And the things she said that are just inherently stupid. And I don't know, it's almost, is it on purpose you're making yourself look this bad? But another part of me says, well, she's someone who's not a high IQ individual that's easily manipulated. But That is what they use. They use people who are not overbright or are already corrupted, and uh, they play them. They play them. Fannie Willis is a good example. Letitia James, she took Soros money, sitting in courtroom with her shoes off and a frappe from Starbucks or whatever she had, ridiculous, sitting there gnawing on a piece of gum, looking like a cow chewing cud, sitting in a courtroom with the 45th president of the United States. Absolute disgrace. But that's what they do. They get these, might as well say, low class individuals. And it isn't hard to expose that kind of stuff. Keep in mind that Mr. T told us years ago that he had plenty of showdowns with Jerry Nadler out of New York back in the day. And RICO was written for this type of stuff. They say, well, they wrote the RICO Act for the mafia and they cleaned them out of New York, the 5 families, all that stuff. All that's been taken care of. Oh, no. There are plenty of criminal organizations, but if people were focusing on mafia, the mob life, and things of that nature, not that I know anything about it, but there was not only the traditional Irish mafia, La Cosa Nostra. Oh, shh, you're not supposed to say that. But anyway, you had 5 families in New York, different organizations under that umbrella of the Italians, but you also had an Irish mob, okay, Westies over there on the other side of the river, and you also had a Jewish mafia. You also had a Russian mafia. We also have a Japanese yakuza. We also have Chinese organized crime. So there's plenty of organized crimes. The main goal, though, is for illicit profits. But what I think this international military police operation is focusing on is corrupt organizations involved in government power and influence. Okay? Not just street crime. Okay? They utilize people like that. But we're talking about international players. Okay? People that can take advantage of and skim off of foreign aid, all right, influence a military aid, steal from military aid, as we've seen many times in my past broadcasts, and most recently this $40 million hubbub in Ukraine, which as much money we give them, 40 million seems like a small amount, but it's the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to get down to the bottom of it all. But when I pulled up the posts on Iran, hey, it's bigger than you can imagine. Okay, that was in capital letters on one of the posts, and that was something I was going to put on my thumbnail instead of a critical moment in time, but I thought it was more important, for people to focus on reality, focus on things that are real, because, we're getting back into this situation now where people are saying, oh, there's going to be secession from the Union. And as Jeff Sessions said, that stuff was put to bed back in the 1860s with, buried with Jefferson Davis and John C. Calhoun and all that bunch I've gone over with in the past. And I take particular exception to people who are so ignorant of history, and I don't mean that as a pejorative. I'm ignorant about brain surgery. I can't open up somebody's skull and know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm ignorant. Doesn't it's not an insult. It's a fact of life. And especially with people who want to be social media influencers, they get up talking about um, things they don't know what the hell they're talking about, as far as secession and Texas leaving the Union. I take particular umbrage with that kind of talk, and I'll get into how I can back up what I'm saying, why that is a ridiculous, foolish, and ignorant position to take, or to egg on or encourage. All right. Because the last thing it does is make anybody seem intelligent. It makes them seem, hey, we got to stay together. We got to have a union. What we've got to do is just what is happening and has been happening for years. What we've got to do is educate our neighbors. Okay. Our greatest export should be the American spirit, okay, and the principles that are outlined in our Constitution as our rule of law in this nation. We've strayed from the Constitution. It needs to be restored. And breaking away or entertaining the idea or spending your precious time saying, okay, let's have Oregon, Washington, and they can have their country, and Texas can have their country. That's stupidity. And it's an insult, okay, to over 1 million soldiers that gave their lives to preserve this union. And what is the thought there? What is the thought there? Oh, we'll just create conflict to separate from the rest of our nation. It's just like Lincoln said when Fort Sumter was under fire. Federal property belonged to the federal government. If that was some campground somewhere or some piece of state property they were fighting over, Lincoln wouldn't have had a problem with it. But it was federal land. He said, we're not giving 1 inch of federal property. Okay. And we're going to preserve the Union. That was it. And all necessary steps were taken. So have to look at it that way. Anybody talking that kind of garbage about Civil War and secession, they're an insult to the legacy of all the soldiers that perished to preserve this Union. All right? That they will not have died in vain. So we got to restore the Union. We got to restore the Constitution. And that starts with educating people as to how the Constitution is constructed, what it means, what the laws mean. I tell you what, just before I went live, I got a notification of a article from Sonia Sotomayor expressing her frustration. Now, if you'll remember, when Trump was asked about the Supreme Court, before he appointed anybody, he said, I could end up appointing, I don't know, 2, 3, and then later on in the interview, he said, I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe, I don't know. And they said, what do you mean 4 or 5? Because they were, talking about Scalia's vacant seat and, 2 seats and possibly 3, and then he got up to 4 or 5. They said, what are you talking about? He specifically said, Sonia Sotomayor, she's not, she got, was it diabetes or high blood pressure, something like that. Something that made my ears perk up. But now she, as far as I'm concerned, is not judicial timber, okay, or Kimbra. And I don't feel that she has any business being in a judging federal cases, anything beyond certainly not constitutional items. She's emotional. She doesn't have a grasp of the fundamental principles of the Constitution. But anyway, here she goes. I get this notification. CNN's Justice Sotomayor speaks on frustration following some Supreme Court rulings. Okay, that sounds interesting. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, her frustration, says she experiences daily frustration as the High Court's conservative supermajority continues to move the country further to the right. Okay, so here you have a Supreme Court justice at this tinderbox moment in time that we're experiencing. This is a tinderbox moment in time. And justices normally don't speak out. They rarely do. And when they do, they're not supposed to criticize each other. They're not supposed to expose disagreements beyond their written opinions. I mean, we're talking customary here. And they're certainly not going to, not supposed to be giving a national indication of strife. Okay. I'll put it that way. Oh, I got a notification. Thank you for Christopher. Stop by, buy me a coffee. I appreciate it. Christopher, if I don't have a link, but Nikki put one in there further up in the chats. Anybody wants to help the channel out. But continue with the article. Quote, I live in frustration. And as you heard, every loss truly traumatizes me in my stomach and in my heart. But I have to get up the next morning and keep on fighting. Sotomayor, the court's senior liberal member, said at the University of California, Berkeley School of Law. That is one of the colleges that are going to get thumped with Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Columbia, all these liberal bastions of communism. But she's saying that she's getting physically ill, you know, which goes right into these ever victimization liberals that we have to deal with all the time, that feel like they should get a cookie for getting out of bed in the morning, that everybody needs to have their world revolve around their frustrations and their things that bother them. You know, it's called life unit, which get on with it. But anyway, let me keep going with her babble. She goes on to say, how can you look, wait a minute, how can you look at those people and say that you're entitled to despair? You're not. I'm not. She said, responding to a question from the school's dean about how students there increasingly feel discouraged by the current court and how it's shaping American law. Change never happens on its own. Change. The justices are supposed to hear arguments and decide cases based on the Constitution and the laws passed by Congress. They're not there to change anything. But let's keep going with this dizzy person. Change happens because people care about moving the arc of the universe toward justice. And it can take time and it can take frustration. Okay. So she wants to change the world, change the universe. So that's right. They go by how they feel. How they feel. They want immediate gratification, and without looking toward the deeper meaning of the law, the deeper meaning of the Constitution. So It continues on. The comments from Sotomayor came as the majority conservative high court is poised to issue rulings on a number of contentious issues, including gun rights and the power of federal agencies. The court's liberal members have found themselves on the losing side of a number of blockbuster cases in recent years after former President Trump appointed 3 conservatives, and Sotomayor has often been publicly bemoaned, bemoaned by her colleagues' decisions in those matters. Though she has publicly bemoaned her colleagues' decisions in those matters. So, well, her colleagues have publicly bemoaned, namely Clarence Thomas, the idiocy and the incomprehensibility of her dissenting opinions. They don't make sense. But the newspapers don't cover that. They're just saying how upset she is. But I tell you, there's another case, not just the gun rights and things that I already mentioned, but what the Babylon Bee is doing, a friend of the court, about their quashing dissenting opinions on social media. Okay, we talked about that yesterday. She's going to lose out on that too. But anyway, let me keep going with this stupid article. Just last week, after the court cleared the way for Alabama, now I had this in my studio to talk about. Alabama had used a new form of X3 ecution, right? And here she's complaining about that. Just last week, after court cleared the way for Alabama to carry out the first ever X3 ecution of a death row inmate by nitrogen gas, Sotomayor voiced her opposition to the move in a strongly worded dissent that underscored her, quote, deep sadness over the order. Now, I want to interject quickly. This guy been I believe 35 years, okay, playing spades, okay, watching TV, whatever they do in prison, okay, 35 years, all right, and nitrogen, what that does, did you know that if you hold your breath and you're underwater and you're holding your breath and you start panicking and kicking and having a desire to take a deep breath, you know where that comes from? It does not come from the lack of oxygen. I found this out about 10 years ago. I'll take that back, 15 years ago. It comes from carbon dioxide buildup. Your body senses it. And when you're panicking, is when your body senses that you cannot or have not expelled carbon dioxide. It's not because it senses that you have not breathed in oxygen. So what's happened in the past in industrial accidents, people would be in a nitrogen-rich environment and not even know it. It's odorless. And you're breathing nitrogen and you're exhaling carbon dioxide and you're fine. But you feel fine. But you don't realize your oxygen levels have dropped. And you just blink out. You pass out. And you don't feel anything. There's no panic because you've expelled your carbon dioxide. And, they found people in industrial situations like, what the heck? They're laying here. They're just laying here like they're sleeping. well, that's what happened. They got exposed to too much nitrogen. And so they were using it for this particular execution. And, well, she's all upset about it. And her quote now is saying, having failed to KIL Smith on its first attempt, Alabama has selected him as a, quote, guinea pig to test the method of X3 ecution never attempted before, she wrote in her dissent. What happened there was they wanted to give him the injection, all right, and they couldn't find a vein good enough to ensure that they would have got through. But anyway, so they said, well, we'll do the nitrogen, you know. So anyway, she's all upset about it. And let me see, trying to jump out of the studio here. Quote, this court yet again permits Alabama to, quote, experiment with a human life. Liberal justices Elena Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson also publicly dissented from the court's order that allowed Kenneth Smith's X3 ecution to move forward. So, well, I read about what happened, and the only people that reported on it were the ones that were sympathetic to the Smith guy, and they said he kicked and wiggled and, you know, this and that. But from all indications, everything I've read about it, your lights just go out. You don't even know you're deprived of anything. You just pass out. You don't have any distress. He wouldn't even know what his blood level of oxygen was. He would have no way of knowing. So I'm sure if he panicked, it was because, you know, he knew it was imminent. And that's the only way. You know, if they didn't tell him it was coming, he would never know. But anyway, she goes on to say, this article goes on to say, during Monday's event, Sotomayor waded into other topics related to the court, including the impact of oral arguments on a justice's vote. At one point, she criticized some criminal defense attorneys who she said have occasionally done a poor job of advocating before the high court. This gets into Christopher's comment about, quote, feelings that an oral argument, instead of a written legal opinion, okay, grounded in the law and facts and logic, she's bemoaning that these defense attorneys are not given some impassioned BS oral argument, okay? Oral arguments for the Supreme Court have basically been for justices to have the opportunity to ask questions about finer points of the law or points about a particular episode or event or issue, so they can compare it to the law and apply the law, not for people to get up there and pontificate with some like some kind of drama class. Okay, so you heard her just now talking about experimenting with human life and how horrible it is and all that. And then she talks about the oral arguments. Then this is her next quote. I can't tell you how often I'll look at Neil Gorsuch, Justice Neil Gorsuch, and I'll send him a note and say, quote, I want to KILL that lawyer, unquote, because he or she didn't give up that case. I'll finish her quote in a minute. But do you get what I'm talking about here? In this one article, within a paragraph, she's bemoaning this nitrogen business. And then the next thing, she wants to KILL a lawyer because he didn't give a dramatic enough oral argument, which would not affect the likes of Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Sam Alito, or anybody with brains in their head. They didn't want to sit there and listen to that crap. But anyway, so, she wants to go ahead and finish off a lawyer because they don't give a good enough oral argument. She says, then she goes on to say, because by the time you come to the Supreme Court, it's not about your client anymore. It's not about their case. She said, it's about how that legal issue will affect the development of law and how you pitch it. If you pitch it too broadly, you're going to end the claims of a whole swath of people. So right there, she's shown how shallow she is by claiming that an attorney is not dramatic enough or orator or a convincing BS artist is how we're supposed to handle cases at the level of the Supreme Court. Okay, not written opinions that you can logically tie together with the law. It's, I'm glad I got to see that article before I came live today, because it is asinine, and it shows you that this person has no business sitting on that court. And I can imagine being Neil Gorsuch, having such a firm grasp of legal theory, and getting notes from that dizzy Sotomayor about what was he supposed to say? Get up and talk like Ellen or Oprah to lift people's spirits. And let me tell you, this stuff started. Right now, we got a case of Alex Murdaugh. I've talked about him briefly in the past. We got this case of the guy walking across the bridge. What was that case? A lot of you may know what I'm talking about. Two girls, okay, lost their lives. And they managed to get a short video clip of him walking across the bridge, the guy that got in jail now. All right. All of them. And another case I'm going to mention. These people are getting off, all right, or having not getting the punishments they deserve, all right, getting reasonable doubt because of creating fantastical thoughts in people's minds. And I'm linking this to the way Sotomayor wants to run the Supreme Court. Fantastical, magical thinking. Think O.J. Simpson, okay? Anybody with a brain in their head knows what he did. And he did not go down the road for it. All right? Because of idiotic, fantastical thinking. Have you ever heard of Colombian necktie? It could have, what did he say? I'm going to spend the rest of my life searching for whoever did this to Nicole. He never did a damn thing but get himself put in jail for kidnapping. So now you got this, the one on the bridge saying that the Odin's men did it. He didn't do it. And you got Alex Murdaugh saying, well, some people from the boat wreck did it. Ridiculous, fantastic speculation where you can't focus on the law. You can't deliver mature justice because people have got their brains flying around in drama, all right, and unrealistic daydreaming. So that is where Sotomayor is coming from. Hello, Ivana. How are you? Started with Brandy. I don't know who Brandis is, but it's nice to see you. Hi, Lori. So what is the name of that case? Gosh, I see it so many times. The guy's walking across the bridge with his hands in his pockets, and he's looking down at the tracks. And one of the girls caught his picture. And he uh, it'll come to him. But anyway, so okay, so we're going through this thing, and we've exposed, spotted some of their main talking points they're trying to go off of. First one that's kind of fizzled out was them claiming that Trump had dementia. Okay, saying that he's losing it. That didn't catch on. That's ridiculous. Then you have where Trump is blocking a border deal. That he's screwing up a border deal and the border is his fault. We're going to make that one fizzle out. Just like I was saying, he don't need no stinking bill. He proved it. He could shut down the border. Don't need to be bribed. We'll make the border safe when you let us give another 100 billion to Ukraine. No, we don't need that. And we can put that one to bed too. But forewarned is forearmed. Then they say that he's trying to delay justice by not having his cases tried overnight with Jack Smith, Fannie Willis, all this other kind of stuff. Hey, Trump is not the one who had an affair with somebody that they shouldn't have, and using the case for personal enrichment, unjust enrichment, like Fannie Willis did. There's a lot more stuff coming out about her, and she could be facing a criminal indictment along with her paramour. And then you got Letitia James and her woes, and Jack Smith is going to be going in for a private discussion with Judge Cannon on the 31st. And he is embroiled in a scheme over there when he was in with the extortion scheme. Okay. That stuff's not getting reported on by the newspaper. These people are dirty, they're crooked, and it's all coming out. But as we've seen from the opposite side, what do they want to squawk about? They want to squawk about Jared Kushner. He got $1 billion. Well, if they throw that one at you, folks, he got $1 billion because a rich Saudi investors, put a plural on that, paid for a 99-year lease up front. Okay? Because they had the money. That's why. I'll give you an example. The Adelsons, okay, another case that has gone almost 10 years because they come up with some kind of crazy double extortion that's ridiculous for anybody to believe. But the type of argument that Sotomayor would want to hear, like she's reading a love novel, a romance novel or something. But anyway, they put down for a 6 months condominium, oceanfront condominium lease in Florida. All right, Miami. Not even the real biggest real estate area. How much do you think they had to put down for a deposit for 6 months lease in Miami? Dun, 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 dun. Their monthly, I think their monthly payment on the condominium was $18,000 a month. This is just for a 1-floor condominium. 6 months, they had to put down $80,000+ up front, then pay the monthly rent. Oh, that's good, Donna. I'm glad to hear that. I hope your dad's better too. I remember what you put in the other night, that he'd been having troubles, but they got C, and neither one of them had trouble getting better. Good, that's good to hear. David, how you doing? Yeah, Fanny's going down. That's going to be a loud timber. So anyway, if you got a dentist who puts down, if you consider that's almost 100 grand for 6 months, all right, on a semi-ritzy building. This argument about Jared Kushner getting money from the Saudis for a 99-year lease, that's, he probably should have got more than $1 billion. So anyway, I'm just looking through the comments. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Donna. And like I said, I hope your dad's doing okay. So we got so much obvious stuff coming on. But I was going through UTizzle, and I was noticing these videos people are putting out supporting these narratives, okay, which is a continuation of a psyop that Trump has dementia, that Trump's trying to block the border deal, that Trump's trying to stall justice or not have his cases heard, that he wants the economy to fail. You know what? Especially ones that are attorneys putting this out. And like I said, this is what RICO was for. People working together in a conspiracy. If they can link them in a conspiracy to undermine, influence elections, election interference, back when Trump was president, to undermine a sitting president, these attorneys especially, but other people in the media that were putting out crap that a logical person could see is crap for a narrative, they should lose their licenses at the very least. And as far as I'm concerned, they should be open for criminal prosecution in some cases, because when you're a college graduate, it's presumed that you have enough damn common sense to not repeat the kind of crap that Rachel Maddow puts out every night after night. Okay? When you have a law degree, all right, especially if you are practicing, all right, if you're a member of the bar, if you have a license, okay, and you are behaving in a way that defies common sense, and it just so happens that the end result of what you're saying is enabling this narrative, okay, this psyop that is harming the body politic. There needs, like Trump has said many times, this can never happen again. And like Peter Navarro said, when he tried to give a press conference, when they were blowing a horn, banging bells, and screaming in his ear and putting posters up in front of him, and wouldn't let him get a word out. I heard what he said. He said, this will never happen again. So, okay, that's what we're going to keep in mind. But getting back to this business of no civil war, okay? The only civil war that's going on is internal in the government, all right? I want to take you to a statement put out by the Border Patrol concerning the National Guard. If I can get to it, I got all these posts from the Q letter, okay? which I don't know if I can go over them tonight, but hey, we can go over them at some point. I got copies of these videos people are putting out too. I got to make sure I don't lose my speaker. I'm going back and forth, so I make sure my speaker is continuing to work. All right, here's an example. I won't say what the channels are because I don't want them getting any clicks, but the title of one video is Big Trump Secret About to Be Revealed. Pulitzer Prize author and journalist. He had a big secret that Trump's going to be revealed. And so I went and checked the channel out. They got garbage in there with the same narratives I just went over and I won't go over again. So then there's, oh boy, I took screenshots of it. But I tell you, if these people have got degrees, they need to lose their licensing. I tell you, there's a couple of, Trump put out a electoral map from Decision Desk HQ. He put out a updated electoral map if the election were held today, what the polls are showing. And it's showing him with 293 electoral votes to Biden's 245. And 270 is the magic number. So that is, not the strongest one I've seen. Trump could have put up something much stronger. There is a channel that you might want to check out. I got to get the name of it. I'll put it in my future broadcasts because I'm going to get copies of that map that he's putting out and put them on when I do a picture show. But Trump is coming in over 350 electoral votes. Biden is barely getting over 200. The reality of it, if the reality were known, Trump is already way ahead. And these are states where he's got close to a 10-point advantage. Trump's putting up there that he's got 292 electoral votes right now. And if the pink ones, instead of the red, they show him pink, the ones leaning Trump, go his way, he'll be over 350 electoral votes. I think it's going to be, in 10 months from now, I think it's going to be quite a bit more than that. But for the people talking about a civil war, the Border Patrol Union, has its own account on X. And they put out a statement a couple of days ago concerning what was going on the border. Let me see. Here it is. Border Patrol Union on X. Rank and file Border Patrol agents are not going to start arresting Texas National Guard members for following their lawful orders. That's fake news. Texas National Guard and rank and file Border Patrol agents work together and respect each other's jobs, period. If Texas National Guard members have lawful orders, then they have to carry out those orders. So it's a lot more to it. I'll read it. So if you hear people talking this stuff that there's going to be a blow up between the feds and National Guard, well, here we go. Texas National Guard members realize that rank and file Border Patrol agents have their orders as well. Lawful orders, no matter how unpopular or distasteful amongst rank and file agents, must be followed. Unlawful orders, as determined by competent legal counsel and not what some outhouse lawyer behind a keyboard says, will not be followed. outhouse lawyer. My dad used to use that term because they used it in the Marines, but they didn't say outhouse. They used the SH word, okay? So I know this was written by somebody who knows what they're talking about. No outhouse lawyers. Rank and file Border Patrol agents appreciate and respect what Texas has been doing to defend their state in the midst of this catastrophe that the Biden administration has unleashed on America. This is the Union. We want to be perfectly clear. There is no fight between rank and file Border Patrol agents and the National Guard, Governor Abbott, or Texas Department of whatever it is. It may make flashy headlines, but it simply isn't true. So don't go for any of the clickbait. Don't go for anybody advocating for some kind of a clash like that. Kush Cleet, how you doing? Oh, okay. All right. They were operating on hard operation. My. Yeah, David, that's Russian. I see you learned Russian. Yeah, enjoy the show from those 17 drops. Christopher, I got a couple of them. I'll try to squeeze a few in, and I'll save some for next time around. Now, this is one I got a screenshot of. E. Jean Carroll. Mr. Reagan, he's got a video. He puts up some videos. He's got one up that says E. Jean Carroll should be put in prison. You know, part of me agrees with that. Part of me, I'm saying I think she's a dizzy broad. I'll put it that way. My mom, you had a little rougher term, but she's dizzy. All right, she's a ditz, DITZ. All right, and she's willfully being taken advantage of, but she's not overbright. Who should definitely be put in prison are the ones behind it. And we're seeing this criminal organizations, okay, corrupt influence. All right, we're seeing it with this LinkedIn air quotes founder, because we all know DARPA founded LinkedIn. George Conway, okay, and all those Democratic donors, which the report that came out today, Nikki Haley's having a dinner that's going to be pretty much dominated by Democrat donors, okay, like 13 big donors going to Nikki Haley. I think that's another reason why Trump is extending his campaign and not accepting the nomination by them just handing it out. The Republican National Committee's got an obligation to give certain amounts of money to candidates that poll at certain levels. There's a report there that the RNC has to go out and borrow money because they don't have the cash on hand to keep people going. And Trump is taking them to school. They think Trump doesn't know what he's talking about as far as finances, and saying he's corrupt. Well, he's putting the squeeze to the RNC. So anyway, E. Jean Carroll, jail, whatever. The ones behind her, the judges, the prosecutors, the people that know better, the people that should know better not to abuse the law and not use their positions to interfere with an election or interfere with a duly elected president like they did when back in the day, we can say now, Yes, those people need to go to jail. But now we have coming out breaking news. The Justice Department is conducting a criminal probe into Cori Bush, according to 6 sources familiar with the investigation. The Justice Department subpoenaed the House Sergeant at Arms for records related to the misspending of federal security money. Much, much more coming out. And that was from Jake Sherman. All right. Cori Bush is a member of the squad. Okay. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, occasional Cortex. Okay. So there we got another scandal coming out. Apparently, she was giving her husband money that was supposed to be allocated for security, and he's got no kind of security. Anyway, it's another grift that's being exposed. So, is freedom here? Well, let me see. Taylor Swift. That is another narrative. Boy, thanks for reminding me, Freedom, and welcome back. They're saying that Taylor Swift is going to swing votes. Remember when Hillary was like 2 nights before the election, she had a big gala, and it was a free concert, and all these thousands of people showed up, tens of thousands. I think it was in Chicago for, what's her name? I just had her name in my mind. Beyonce. Beyonce was giving a concert, and everybody's out there, and they're acting like it was for Hillary. They're all out there supporting Hillary when they're coming to a free Beyonce concert, and Hillary got out there to say a few words, and people were just all of a sudden got quiet, like, what is this? Whatever. We want to hear Beyonce sing. And of course, we know Hillary lost, but they think Taylor Swift. I saw a meme where they had Taylor Swift was supposed to be asking people, well, what's your problem? Something like that, because people were puked out at her being at the Super Bowl. People watch the Super Bowl because they want to watch sports. They don't care about somebody who markets their stuff to tweeny boppers, okay, or dopey kids, girls. They had Michael Jackson. Okay, he was a universal figure. That was a superstar appearance. But you got some. Why don't you have? What was that girl's name that her father sang "Achy Breaky Heart"? I mean, it's no difference. Have her at the Super Bowl. You guys know who I'm talking about. Don't break my heart, my achy breaky heart. See, that's the next narrative. Why are they all triggered? They're not triggered. They're just watching the Super Bowl. They don't want to watch. Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter. What's her name? What's her name? Have her swing the election. What is her name? Oh gosh, Miley Cyrus. Have Miley Cyrus show up. Yeah, have Miley Cyrus come to the Super Bowl filled with grown men with beer bellies wanting to watch a daggone football game. Make them sit and watch Miley Cyrus. And that's going to really help the election for Joe Biden. I mean, that's as dopey as thinking that Beyonce was going to help Hillary. Who cares? Nobody cares about Taylor Swift. She used to be had some kind of a Christian background. Then she swung over to, here it is, the Daily Mail. Taylor Swift could sway 2024 election outcome, new poll finds. with a fifth of voters likely to back candidate endorsed by the singer. One gonna do what Taylor Swift says. But anyway, it's so silly. But I can see, Freedom, that you are on top of all the psyops. That is interesting. You're on top of the phony Trump has dementia. You're on top of the Trump's trying to blow up the border deal. But just like Trump said, I didn't need no bill to close the border and stop this illegal stuff. I didn't have to give Ukraine $100 billion to secure the border in America. So, yeah, you're down with the most recent. You must subscribe to, I can't think of the group. I know Lincoln Project has some kind of page they put out. And also the Dems have some kind of her and her boy. I could care less about what her and her boyfriend. I think Jack Posobiec. Let me see. He said something about Taylor Swift boyfriend and her they did a I don't know, ask him. You can go on True Social and interact with Posobiec. And what was it he said? Let me find it. Let me find it there, Freedom, before you go bouncing off on. Yeah, I think it was something Posobiec said. He doesn't speak for everybody on the right. Jack Posobiec. He says, CNN. My response to CNN's meltdown about me. You call me far right, but I think you mean right so far. But let me find that one he said. Oh, I didn't take a screenshot of it. Wait a minute. Maybe I did. Oh, okay, yeah. Who's Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Freedom? Who is Taylor Swift's boyfriend? I want to ask you. I want to see what you got to say before I tell you what's going on here, what I took a screenshot of. Who is the boyfriend? Why are all these snowflakes on the right spreading conspiracy theories about her and her boyfriend? It is absolutely stupid. Well, who's her boyfriend? I haven't heard the conspiracy theory. Please fill us in. There's a lot of far right hate against her. I have no idea what you're talking about. I think she just, like I said, she's on the same level as Miley Cyrus. All right? Same level as Miley Cyrus. Travis Kelce. Okay, well, let me read you what Posobiec put up, because that's the only thing I'm hearing about as far as what you're talking about. The only one I've seen a comment about. Jack Posobiec said, I'm so glad we let all those Middle Eastern sleeper cells in across the border right before Biden announced he was authorizing strikes in the Middle East. Of course, this isn't connected. Go back to watching Taylor Swift and her girlfriend. He says she got a girlfriend. I don't know. I don't know Travis Kelce. I know very little about Taylor Swift. She doesn't affect my vote. Her fans call her mama. She's indoctrinating young girls' minds. Yeah. So was Miley Cyrus. Well, You have to use a 3 when you use that word, Freedom, S3X, because you can't put that in because of guidelines, okay? You can't put the S3X word in. So that comment will disappear. All right. If I think Nikki can take that down for me. Now, it's not that I'm trying to block what you're saying. You just got to use letters instead of vowels for words like that. So, yeah, same S3X rights. They've got rights just like everybody else, but they need to leave those kids alone because you go to jail for talking about S3X with kids. Okay? That's what's going to start happening. Nobody has the right to approach young ones with lewd and lascivious topics, even if they say, well, I'm coming to talk to them about their rights. What is that, Beastie Boys? You got to fight for your right to be a tranny. No, you don't talk to kids like that. And it's going to be people ending up in jail over it. It's right. Ian Miley has got quite a voice, and it's a shame. She's, she could, hey, Little Richard. Little Richard is probably one of the most famous people who were, as Archie Bunker would say, a fruity tootie, right? And that's what Little Richard's song used to be. Fruity tootie, oh, fruity tootie. Well, if you watch Little Richard's interviews later in his life, he disavowed that lifestyle. He found Christ, and he changed himself and carried on a ministry, So hopefully Miley Cyrus will find her way and not behave in a lewd and lascivious manner. And let's see. No is talking to kids about this. Is a far-right wedge issue. Well, their music, and if you can't have a cartoon character named Joe Camel, all right, about Camel cigarettes. They had the cartoon character Joe Camel. They outlawed that because they were appealing to kids. All right. Then you can't be appealing to kids about mature matters. Okay. That's right. It's psychological abuse. And we'll put a stop to it. We'll put a stop to it. Yeah. Yeah, she's going to lead a miserable life. No decent man is going to want to take up with somebody that is a pass around chick. Same one who had the T-shirt superimposed on the statue of Christ. I don't know who did that, but yeah, I mean, parents are. This all started when John McCain was John McStain. I didn't mean to say his name, but when they required, if you wanted a certain cable package, you had to pay money every month to MTV and BET, which promoted all this filthy music channels, and they should have never done that. But we're going to have restraints, all right, as far as what underage people are exposed to. And it's going to be self-policed to a large degree because quantum technology is going to be able to track down people who are sending obscene images or speaking in an obscene way to young people, and they want people going to jail. All right, we'll show you people going to jail. real world issues doesn't include uh, being a fruity tootie and throwing away your chance to have a normal family life for people to end up in some kind of twisted, dysphoric, immoral state. Christopher, you got to use a 3 when you use that word. I just told Freedom that. S3X. And that GROO word gets me in trouble too. That comment's got to go. Nikki will probably take that out. Both those words aren't allowed on the Utensil platform. It's okay. Or you can take it out yourself. So we can agree to disagree, but we're not going to have kids exposed to S3 actual things anymore. And I believe we have to revisit, just like Clarence Thomas said, we have to revisit same S3X marriage. And we also have to look at states need to be taking a hard look at whether or not same S3X adoption should be permitted. I do not think it should be permitted. It is not raising a child in the optimal natural state of a mother and a father. So these things are all stuff that a free society should be able to debate and decide on what laws should be enacted to protect the society and promote safe society, okay, living to customs and norms that a community wants to live under, not have this stuff forced on them or forced on their children. So it's we're coming into exciting times, a critical moment in time, and this critical moment in time is going to last for a long time. Even though we have this emergency situation that we could be facing, the retaliation on Iran that Biden has said would happen within 24 hours. It may be happening right now. Well, that word SU aside, okay, that's not allowed either. The only reason they would want to listen, Freedom out, Nikki, if you take that Freedom quote down, that's got the SUICID in it, because I'm gonna tell you something, Freedom. Any adult that approaches a child and gets them to doubt whether they're a boy or a girl needs to go to prison. Any adult that approaches a young child and asks them about their S3 actual orientation is a criminal, and they should go to jail. They should not be permitted around children. That is what causes the distress in a child. And I'm not going to tolerate anybody promoting adults approaching children and talking to them about S3X. I've given you free reign, but the one thing I will not tolerate is anyone promoting adults approaching children and talking to them about lewd and lascivious things. And that's the only warning I'm giving. That's right, Donna. Trying to brainwash children with unnatural thoughts I'm putting that up on the screen. It's not like we haven't had societies for written history for 5,000 years, and we've never had this kind of a dysphoric insanity pushed on into our schools. That's right. But no twisting their young minds. And then say, oh, they're going to commit you know what aside. I'll discuss any leftist point of view, except trying to make children think they're born in the wrong body, or that's just abuse. That's psychological abuse. Well, one thing that they're scared about, that Trump has said he would do, is going to have a commission on childhood illnesses. Okay, and that that stuff goes back to Ritalin in the 80s. When they started giving that. Way before that though. But I mean, that's an example. Whenever you had an antsy kid, they would give them, some kids are antsy, some aren't. But they give them drugs, pharmaceutical companies profiting off of keeping a kid in a drugged up state. It's ridiculous. So, but anyway, that's another reason why they want Trump in, because he's going to investigate childhood illnesses. And if that's one thing he can work with Robert F. Kennedy on, because Robert F. Kennedy has been a proponent of investigating these pharmaceutical companies. Are we calling names? I don't want any name calling in my chats, whether you agree with me or not. Having an argument's one thing, but no, I don't permit name calling unless it's in jest. I say things in jest if I imitate somebody or a comedy show or something like that. But hi, Rick. Yeah. Hot for Teacher video. The MTV was the beginning of the end. Okay. MTV was the beginning of the end. Well, that's what you feel, Freedom. That's fine. They have no interest in real policy improving the lives of people. No, we don't want to improve any lives. But I'm sure you meant to say lives. We want to improve. We want children to grow up in a safe, happy, and healthy environment, and not to have them approached by purple-haired weirdos. We're going to protect them, and that's just the way it's going to be. Starla, nice to meet you, Starla. But I appreciate you joining the chats. But I'll make this a Mountain Man Freedom show if I want to. I'll make it a Mountain Man Starla show if I feel like it. It's not a show; it's a broadcast. And I've given I have 1,000 people watch the broadcast. I got one person that wants to put forth the left-hand side. And I don't care what they say. I can smack the ball back to them just as hard as they smack it at me. And that's what this is about. Freedom puts something hollow out, saying that this is only an issue because the far right tries to use it as a wedge issue. When I do my picture show, Freedom, I'll show you what a wedge issue it is. I'll put up pictures of a video on YouTube where 12-year-old girls, all right, have already had their upper part of their body butchered for the rest of their lives because somebody in their 40s or 50s that is dysphoric and mental talked them into a surgery when they were 12 years old. And you're sticking up for those kinds of people? Okay? Now, Starla, how can I call him out without this conversation? All right? How can I write down in my notebook that I need to put that up in my next picture show if I don't have them telling me how they try to defend themselves? It's called a mastectomy. If a child is perfectly healthy, normally developed, and a doctor does that to him, that doctor belongs in jail. That is not a wedge issue. And yes, I do want to make people's lives better because I don't want that ever to happen to a innocent 12-year-old child again. And I want the people that did it to go to jail. Hi, Andrew. And this business that's coming up in front of the Supreme Court about blocking people on social media because of their views. That young lady named Chloe, Chloe, okay? You can look her videos up, maybe a few left on YouTube, but they were taking her down when she was telling her story. And the people behind that, the people behind violating her freedom of speech to describe what fully grown adults who should know better, what they did to her while she was a minor. She should be allowed to expose that kind of criminality, that kind of insanity. And the people that took her down, she should be able to sue them. Virtually no cases. Go on Rumble, you can find kids that are putting the videos up themselves, but they censor them on this platform. There are virtually no cases of physical injury on people under 18. It's a red herring. If you had, well, I won't say that. Anyone with a heart that watches some of these 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are putting videos up, girls that have hair on their chin, okay? They're going bald, and they're trying to reverse the effects of hormone shots when they were 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. They finally became of age and got away from their parents and stopped the injections. They'll never be normal again. Their voices will always be deep and screwed up. They are going to lose their hair. They're going to grow facial hair. Thousands of them. I think you have been not paying it. You've been skiing and ski boarding too much, and you've not been paying attention to the abuse they have been putting out on kids. Ivana says right there, they did to a little girl in San Antonio. Oh my God, a double mastectomy and an attachment. That's disgusting. Somebody should go to jail for that. Chloe's not the only one, Debbie. I put a video up where a girl was saying, how lucky she was. And she found someone, a young man who told her he loved her and cared for her and got her to stop. And he married her, and she's still got facial hair and stuff, but she was reading her story out, and she was saying, thank God I found somebody normal and that I found Christ. And I put her video up, and they took me down for a week. What about the discussion protecting children from gun violence? There you go, deflecting. You're deflecting. Okay? You're deflecting. You haven't got any stats or basis for that. That's not at all what I'm talking about. And you're talking about a core issue, Second Amendment right. You want to use an excuse to protect the children to take away my gun rights? Go to hell. Oh my God, Ivana, I'm so sorry to hear that. No, you throw out that red herring. The leading cause of is guns for kids. That's bullshit. That's not the truth. It's a red herring. That's right. Single songwriter, the leading cause of death is fentanyl. And Second Amendment rights, you're not going to use that cheap argument. Well, it's actually a lie. You're not going to repeat a lie and push a narrative. So anyway, I've gone over an hour and a half. I appreciate everyone who showed up tonight. Don't get mad at me. Let me see. I got to go way back up if I can. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. It was a new person that came in. I laid down, I put down the ground rules for everybody, whether it's Freedom or whoever else. It was, anyway, don't get mad at me, whoever I talked to earlier, Starla. Don't get mad at me, Starla, because I said what I'm going to discuss. These things need to be discussed and rebutted, because you're going to run into people in your life like Freedom, who is thinking with a brain that has been thoroughly washed through the spin cycle and is kind of still spinning in the mainstream media echo chamber. And they'll throw this stuff out here, and you have to be able to counter it. And it's for their own good. It's for Freedom Riders' own good. He says that it's not deflecting. The real issue is you don't want to discuss it. Check the stats. It's not a lie. Check the CDC numbers. Well, if I listened to the CDC, I would have done something that a lot of people have done and sorely regret. I don't know. Yeah, we're all talking within the boundaries, Lone Wolf. I appreciate you. I think we stayed within the boundaries. Yeah. So the Seed Center for Disease Control, that's right. Jersey Joe, you're right. It's a joke. They don't know what you're talking about. Blame it on guns. That's the dumbest thing. All right, folks. I appreciate y'all spending your precious time with me. I'll be broadcasting again soon. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know the next time I go live. Okay, folks? And we'll keep the conversation as long as people stay on topic. Now, when I'm going on a tangent about something, we stay on that topic, and we'll go on from there. Freedom, I don't know. Is some things you're saying are not a debate, and I will reiterate that making cheap excuses for people to approach children about S3 that doesn't fly. There's no excuse for it. And all right. So anyway, folks, Havana. Well, we're going to say a prayer for that little one you told us about. And people like these liberals, they could give a rip about how that person's life was destroyed, Ivana. In Freedom, you read Ivana, what Ivana said, what happened in San Antonio. Mutilation. All right, folks, you all have a great night. I'll be talking to you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.